Hey guys, this is Thomas over here from nursemoneytalk.com. Today I'm going to answer a question that I received. The question is from Christopher Sanon7, who asked, would you recommend challenging the LPN exam when there are only 6 months left in my RN program? Real quick, for those of you who don't know what they mean when they say challenging the LPN exam, I talked about it in more detail in a separate video that I'll link above and put in the descriptions below. The short version is that there are a handful of states that will actually allow you to challenge the NCLEX-PN. This means that for students in an RN program, after taking certain classes, their state board of nursing will allow them to sit for the NCLEX-PN. You can probably imagine that there are certain advantages that this could bring. Either way, see that video for more information and discussion on challenging the NCLEX. But let's go ahead and get back to the question at hand. So, Christopher, if I were you and I had the disposable income, even with only 6 months left, I think I would apply to challenge the LPN exam. That said, you have to keep in mind that there are only 6 months left, which is not much time. Completing the application process, which includes obtaining the necessary signatures from your nursing program, submitting the application, and waiting for board approval to take the test takes a while. Then you need to schedule the test, take it, and wait for the results. Once you pass the test, you'll still need to wait for the LPN licensure to come through. If you're planning to work, it's reasonable to assume you'll only have about 3 months or so left before graduation to find an LPN job, assuming everything goes according to plan. So, you may wonder why I would still suggest taking the LPN licensure exam. The reason is that to me, there are some benefits to taking the exam that I like, especially when it comes to taking the RN licensure exam. First, the LPN licensure process is similar to the RN licensure process. So after going through the process of taking the LPN exam, you'll have some familiarity with the process of taking the NCLEX RN. The second is decreased test anxiety. Having already obtained the LPN licensure exam will reduce your anxiety and increase your comfort when taking the NCLEX RN exam. In the worst case scenario, you can work as an LPN until you pass the RN exam. Now, I know some of you guys are going to look at that last part and say, that doesn't make a lot of sense. If you did all of that and passed the NCLEX-PN, surely that means you'll easily pass the NCLEX-RN. The two exams can't be that different in structure or difficulty. On paper, there's probably some truth to that. But as we know, that's not how the world works. And for those with some form of anxiety, that's not going to matter. And here's what I mean. When you're taking the NCLEX-PN exam, you won't be as stressed because that's not your end goal. You'll have some peace knowing this could be more or less a practice run. I think that thought process will reduce anxiety and give you a better shot at passing. Now, when it comes to taking the NCLEX RN, if you challenge the NCLEX PN, you're going to be in two camps. The first is the camp that took the NCLEX PN licensure exam and passed. In that camp, you'll be less stressed because you've already been through the process and passed the first time. Your success, the familiarity of the process, and the fact that in a worst case scenario, you'll just go work as an LPN will boost your confidence. If you're in the second camp that didn't pass, obviously you're not in as good a spot as the first camp. However, I think you're still in a good position because you are familiar with the process. You have reviewed your candidate performance report, aka the NCLEX CPR, and you have a good idea of what areas you struggle with and how to improve your studying. Now, real side note, you might be wondering, what is the NCLEX CPR? While the NCLEX CPR is a 2-page report you'll receive after taking the NCLEX exam, this personalized report will assess your performance on the exam regardless of whether you passed or failed. If you didn't pass, the report provides information on your performance in the various areas of the examination. Please note that if you didn't answer the minimum number of questions required, the CPR will only show the number of questions you answered without really providing any other helpful information. For me, those are positive things that would probably motivate me to challenge the NCLEX-PN even with 6 months left. The last thing I'll add is that, as I mentioned above, there's some paperwork involved in this. Every state is different, so I don't know if yours is better or worse than mine, but I probably wouldn't try to challenge the NCLEX-PN if I was really close to graduating. I don't think it makes much sense to do all that paperwork right when you're about to start the paperwork for taking the NCLEX-RN unless there's some other good reason. Now, for those of you who are about to take the NCLEX, make sure you check out the NCLEX prep course I recommend by going to nursemoneytalk.com/NCLEX prep. I'll put a link on the screen and you will also see that link in the descriptions below. I really think it's one of the better NCLEX prep courses out there. But regardless, even if you decide that you don't want to go with that NCLEX prep course, I really do highly recommend you find a good NCLEX prep course to get before taking either the NCLEX-PN or the NCLEX-RN, because I think getting a good NCLEX prep course will really increase your chances of being successful on the NCLEX.